This is the only reference I'm doing on the Sonic sunglasses, because they were end of. Hello everybody, my name is Nick Starwind and welcome to Nick's Random Reviews, the regenerated show that pretty much reviews whatever is available. This review was requested by Rebekah, who writes, to follow in previous fashion, the newest Doctor. Your last one was hilarious. And this pretty much goes back to my first series of Nick's Random Reviews back in 2009, where I first reviewed the announcement of Matt Smith. And believe me, I still think he's an annoying carbon copy attempt at what should have been a new face for a new writer, and the only role he suits these days is playing the Duke of Edinburgh in The Crown because he's full of himself, completely offensive, and not worth the position he holds. But this isn't the Doctor I'm going to be reviewing today. But if you do want to see me review Matt Smith's first announcement in low quality footage, you're going to have to ask for it later, because right now the video is on a hard drive that's lost its AC adapter, and apparently they don't make any more for that company, so I'm out of luck really. However, the Doctor I will be reviewing today is Peter Capaldi, who is the latest rendition of the Doctor Who franchise, and to be honest, he's not actually a bad Doctor. He actually does a really good interpretation of the character. Sadly though, the entire series is so we'll be looking at both today. Now before we begin, let's do a summary of the Doctor Who series, because usually nowadays the only information you can find floating about that actually has any connection to the story, I guess, is about the sex appeal and the relationships between the characters, mostly David Tennant's and Billie Piper's, so yeah. Doctor Who is a staple in the science fiction community and of course British culture. First airing in 1963 on the BBC, it tells the adventures of, well, the Doctor, who travels through time and space with various companions, going to different universes and having different adventures against villains such as the Daleks, the Cybermen, and his arch-nemesis, the Master, to name a few. The signature devices that make Doctor Who so special is, for one, his time-travelling vehicle, the TARDIS, which is stuck in the formation of a police box because its cloaking device, also known as the chameleon circuit, has otherwise been But we then have his weapon of choice, the sonic screwdriver, which can pretty much open anything and override anything, apart from a couple of things. I think wood is one of them. It's one of those kryptonite things. And of course, his ability to regenerate, which is when his body reaches the end of its life, which was actually just an afterthought when William Hartnell was getting too old to play the role, and they needed to keep it going without stopping. Now, regeneration is what's kept the series going for over 50 years without having to reboot it, if you discount Russell T Davies' reboot of the series, because it kind of still continues. But anyway, basically what happens is, if an actor reaches the end of his contract or wishes to leave, they just mainly find a new actor and they put him into that role. And of course, each actor brings a whole new personality and a personal look to it, which keeps the series fresh and keeps it going, really. So far, we've had a total of 13 Doctors, although the rules of the Time Lords state that you're only allowed 12 regenerations, as quoted in 1976 serial The Deadly Assassin, but they're still finding ways to continuously beat this dead horse until there is nothing left. Personally, my favourite Doctor is Peter Davidson, with his innocent and young face mixed with the Edwardian gentleman's coat and pyjama trousers look, which surprisingly goes well, I will tell you now, added with his, gentle nature and Sherlock-esque attitude mixed together in one. But this isn't about my love letter to Peter Davidson, although one day I hope to meet you, you amazing, amazing man. This is about Peter Capaldi, the real Doctor at hand here. Now, in my opinion, the series began to rapidly decline when Stephen Moffat took over as head writer, because he decided to gradually ignore Doctor Who lore in favour of a copy and paste story, more action and more sex appeal, giving us a Doctor who is incredibly arrogant and about as appealing as watching a Theresa May bikini shoot, making me continuously think of the Crimson Chin, and yeah, I'm not a pretty picture either, but I can at least admit it. Now, I did enjoy the 50th anniversary, but that's only because I'm a sucker for crossovers, and I did like how David Tennant and Matt Smith were interacting with each other. John Hurt played a good Doctor as a throwback to old Doctor Who series, but that's pretty much where it ended, really. It was an interesting concept, but you ruined it, and we've had several crossover versions in the past that you could have gone back to that. But no, you just made me think I was watching a YouTube video with someone who has way more After Effects experience than the team on Doctor Who. Because seriously, just cutting out characters from the old series and mashing them into a scene to make us go, wow, it's like you're all there. That is poor, especially at the end with the greatest mannequin challenge of all, where Matt Smith just walks out amongst museum pieces, and you can tell they're museum pieces. It was awful. I have a feeling that if I do this review 100% properly, I'm going to be complaining a lot about the special effects throughout. So just to make this a bit more fair, I'm going to refrain from talking about it and only say this. If you have a series that is your best seller, put some cash down and give it a good effects budget, so you can look more like American TV shows and less like bad university projects, because you seriously make Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon look like it had the budget of Avatar. But moving on. After a couple of seasons of a very painful Matt Smith and one horrific Christmas special that made me want to burn down Stephen Moffat's house, we finally got our new Doctor, played by thick of an actor Peter Capaldi, who had already actually appeared as pinnacle characters in the series, one in Torchwood and one in Doctor Who, so this was already sounding a bit iffy to begin with. But I will admit, his angry persona and mature appearance was going to bring a brand new look to the show that was coming out soon. And that's where it ended. That was the only bit that was good about it. Him. That was it. When we are first introduced to the Doctor, we are just shown these two incredibly angry eyes in the 50th anniversary, which was supposed to be a sort of cool teaser, if not a bit creepy looking, and when we finally get to see him, the regeneration happens so fast we don't really know what to make of it. And then we get that stupid cliche where he doesn't know who he is or what he is doing, leading to his first actual episode of him half knowing and not knowing who he is, droning on about if he's a good man, while at the same time leaving an exhausted use of her character Clara, wondering if she can masturbate to him later without thinking of a raisin with googly eyes. But once we get past the initial bumpy start with Capaldi, he actually turns out to be a pretty good Doctor. He's kind of chiming back to the first series with the William Hartnell grumpy old man approach, with some elements of David Tennant with his enthusiastic and lovable nature, even when he is being a condescending asswipe. I'm actually pleased they chose an older figure for this, but I'm sure all the nerds out there are going, oh, it's because he forgave his older self. You know the John Hurt War Doctor, because he represented older figures with a time where he was actually a really bad guy, and this was him being able to revert back to it. Or it could be just because they wanted to go away from the pretty boy look, because variety keeps things fresh and all that, instead of making it a pretty boy affair rather than a science fiction show. As for his outfit, I would probably say it isn't anything amazing, but instead of one, he has several outfits, both very different from the other, rather than the signature one most Doctors have. Even if David Tennant and Matt Smith had a variety of outfits, they mostly stayed within the same field of era and idea, whereas Capaldi seems to vary between contemporary, John Pertwee-esque styling, basic suit attire, and some weird-ass sparkly t-shirt design. It's like he's going for a midlife crisis and he's trying to look younger and not doing a very good job. But to be fair, I'd rather prefer the Pertwee look. That red inner lining on the jacket is very dapper. Now, without a world for the Doctor to thrive in, how are we supposed to understand what kind of person he is? And although a very strong interpretation, because after all, who knows how to play the Doctor better than fans themselves? For example, David Tennant and many in the past were actually fans. But the difference between them was that they had good writers, whereas in this case, where the Doctor strives to be something good, everything around him falls to pieces. Now, to put it in so many words, I hate this series now because of what they've done with Capaldi. I mean, I hated it when Matt Smith was doing it, but at least I came back to see how things developed for the 50th. But oh my god, this has got to be the biggest shower of on someone's dreams I have ever seen. Every episode has been an onslaught of hell, bearing one which was Sleep No More, because I actually liked that episode and it had no bearing on the ongoing storyline whatsoever, which made it a good break from the ass-splitting torture each episode gave us. The only reason I continued watching the show was because my girlfriend is a fan of it, and even she lost her patience after a while because it's now banned in the house because it's that bad. And even now, thinking about when I was writing the review, having to recall those scenes that I forgot about was just migraine worthy. It was like, it's like when you remember a really embarrassing sequence from like 10 years ago, you're just like, why did I have to think of that? Now, before I continue, I am going to warn you about spoilers as always, although this is the second time I've warned you. But anyway, the point is still standing, because you're going to see, much like my Dragon Ball Z review, you're going to see a lot of similar things, mainly concerning bending over your childhood dreams and raping it in front of your eyes, kind of like Indiana Jones in the Temple of the Crystal Skull. Now, with that said, I'm going to throw out my first card from my deck and call upon the Dark Lord and say, F*** you, Missy, for 1,000 attack points, because I do not care what people are saying. This was the worst idea you could have come out with for bringing back the Master. That's like electing a racist, sexist, ignorant pig for a president. Oh yeah, you did that, didn't you? But political digging aside, this was the first strike I had in the series. You introduced to us a new character in what looked like an ideology of heaven that everyone went to when they died, with a character called Missy who said she knew the Doctor. That was a perfect lineup, simple as, but then you go and ruin it by making it out to be the Master in Dark Water and Death in Heaven. And for what? To look like a smug motherfucker who probably gave Toei Animation the idea to do the same with Vegeta. I don't give a shit what the Time Lords say about people changing into genders when they regenerate. If you want to bring back a female Time Lord, you bring back someone like Ramona. You don't tamper with existing characters. We've been over this! You don't even explain to us how the Master even got here. It's just blip and he's a woman. The Master is someone who loves to brag about getting out of tough situations. I wouldn't have cared as long as you explained it in some way or another. Make it up. Say that he swapped bodies with someone on Gallifrey when he got stuck in the time freeze with David Tennant. Or heck, he trained for 6 months and gained a brand new form, kind of like a golden master or something. That would have done it for me if you'd said that. But you didn't. You just made Heath Ledger's Joker with a vagina. It was something on a piece of paper as a note and you took it way too seriously. And the thing that annoys me most, you built this character up to have some sort of show off, and then in the second season of Capaldi, she just disappears and doesn't return again. You gave us something horrific and then just went bloop, forgotten about it. And this isn't even the beginning of gender changing bull crap. Moffat seems to have it in his head that he can throw constructs out of the window willy-nilly like it's some form of dick measuring contest with Russell T Davies and who can make the biggest splash. So we get a sudden burst of Time Lords regenerating the women. You have it with Missy, they're hinting it with the next regeneration, and even the season finale Hellbent, one of the Time Lords not only turns into a woman, but a black woman, as if to say, hey guys, I'm waving that equality flag so hard that you're going to love me even when I'm gone. That isn't how you make progressive storytelling to a contemporary ideology. You make it so no one notices. If you have to shove things in people's faces to make a difference, you are just alienating people and causing more drama than you need. If you want a character to be a different gender, different ethnicity or sexuality, then do it, but at the same time, don't do it so dramatically. You create this wave of positive and negative stuff. It's actually not a good thing to do. This is why Captain Jack is such a progressive character, because whenever he showed his sexuality, which wasn't very often, put it that way, it was what it was. Normal. Not in the way where you get so flabbergasted by it, you run to the forum saying, oh god, I'm against the system now, you've made someone gay and made me think about it. He was a normal person and he didn't have to show who he was to get people to go, oh, I like this character. This is why Russell T Davies is a good writer. He knows the term subtle. But we are not done yet in the quest to say Moffat has about as much writing talent as a monkey on a typewriter, because we move on to the next stupid ass idea, which was a shielder. I don't care if that's how you pronounce it, I didn't want to watch the episode again. Who also known as me, who first appeared in the episode The Girl Who Died. And yes, I am neglecting Vikings and electric eels in the same place, but who wouldn't? I know I failed geography, but come on! Anyway, that aside, Ashilda is given the gift of immortality, and that is where she ends up being an interesting character, because she spends the remainder of the series being a whiny asshole who never dies, God knows we wish she would, and spends her time jumping through the different time eras, writing down her memories in a book because she keeps forgetting them, a plus side I must admit, and stalking the Doctor because it's all his fault. But of course, she is given that age-old ability that ruins an everlasting aging series, the ability not to age and stay forever young. Because even at the end of the series, where she sat at the end of the Earth, probably about the same time Eccleston and Rose are watching it from space, she has not aged a day. Because I'm sure that'll work out in later seasons when the actual actress herself begins to age. You know, just slap on some age makeup and bing, little girl again. You again neglect an already existing character who actually does age despite the fact he can never be killed, Captain Jack, who as we know becomes the face of Bo at the end of his life. And you could have just had him come back for some mild adventures, a tip-off to the Russell T Davies series, and then spent that time creating characters that do age but will be forever lasting. That means not creating characters that are paused in time in a specific feature, which causes problems later for new writers who will have to inevitably scrap this character's story idea and have to make new ones just to make sure it continues in a straight continuity fashion, which you, Moffat, don't know how to do. And just like Riversong, who is again your creation of a character, we get an even bigger castration of a problem, which is Clara. Now, I liked Clara as an assistant before we begin. She was less hornier than Amy Pond and stronger as an independent character, even if her fashion choices for Dangerous Ventures were impractical and mostly cooked up for guys watching the shuffle one out before the episode began. But nevertheless, this ended up becoming a big problem in the episode The Name of the Doctor, when she falls into his time stream, which, by the way, great name for a title, asshole. That really pissed off a lot of people and got you ratings you needed, you. But anyway, she falls into the time stream of the Doctor, and we find out the big plot twist about how she keeps going back is basically because she's been around for the entirety of the Doctor's life. Even in the old series, she was a present character throughout, even to the point of telling William Hartnell which TARDIS to take. And you ate that up like it was served freshly baked on a plate for you. But after that excruciating reality that Clara is never going to go away when she's going to have to because, you know, death comes to everyone, we are not done yet because we are then introducing the brand new series to Danny Pink, a pointless plot device that did nothing more than just hang a question of who's the next assistant going to be, because Clara falls for him and we get that little sprinkle of hope that things may change after the season. And then they kill him in the exact same season. Especially after that piss take of an episode called Listen, where they meet a future offspring of Pink, thinking that Clara and him have a kid or something. But no. You dangled that piece right in front of our face and then snatched it before we could have it, leaving a very confused and dopey looking Clara clinging on to dear life of the Doctor like she hasn't got any paychecks coming from anywhere else. But then finally, we finally get it. Clara dies. In the episode Face the Raven, we get a beautiful moment from multiple angles and in slow motion that she dies. To be honest, I didn't want her to die. I would have been happy if she ran off with Pink, because that seems to be the continuous thing of older generation of assistants. They find their place and they go off. But it doesn't matter. It was a joyous time. People were dancing in the street. It was made a national holiday and we could finally sit back and watch progression happen. And then they brought her back. With a shoulder. And a new TARDIS. That turns into a diner, by the way. And you wipe the Doctor's memories so he doesn't know who she is in the first place. 'Cause that's just fine! When all else fails and that ship is dramatically sinking, you just memory wipe him and then run off with an equally up character as you are. My god, I've been stupid for years thinking how time travel worked. Can you imagine if that was true? You go back in time and kill Hitler as a baby and you wipe your memory, and that solves all the paradoxes you've created, cause you know the theory of how time works is of course connected to your memory banks, not where those giant vultures come out and try and amend it. How stupid of me to think I was paying attention. You know what? This review has exhausted me to no end. Who the hires people to write this. You had a multi-million-pound franchise here, and you brought in somebody who is about as useful as a chocolate fire guard. We'll just review every episode that has happened in this season, and I will give a brief interpretation of my views on it. I think that'll solve it. So, I've got the list here. It might help me. I just can't take this anymore. We're just gonna go through it. Deep breath. Just made to introduce the Doctor to us and to see if Clara can think about him during finger time. Into the Dalek. Rick and Morty do better inter-body exploration better. Robot of Sherwood. Get Listen, who proofread this crap? Time heist. What is it, Shutter Island? The Caretaker. Filler. Kill the moon. Egg on the moon, and is a moon? What the Mummy on the Orient Express. Clara, get the out of there. Flatline. Remove the tiny TARDIS and you've got a good episode. In the Forest of the Night. Watch the Sonic the Hedgehog series. He does a lot better at environmental awareness. Dark Water. You, Danny. Death in Heaven. You, Missy. Last Christmas. How many films did you rip off? The Magician's Apprentice. Seriously, you, Missy. The Witch is Familiar. Blah blah, I am Davros. Under the Lake. I ain't afraid of no ghost. Before the Flood. Stop with time. The Girl Who Died. Eels? The Woman Who Lived. Hey, let's revive this asshole. The Zygon Invasion. Oh, hey, those guys. The Zygon Inversion. Blah blah, war is bad. Sleep No More. Actually a good episode with an interesting villain and a good story concept. Face the Raven. Die, Clara, die! Heaven Sent. Can we watch Clara die again? Hell Bent. You, Clara! The Husband of River Song. Is that Baymax? And that is where I'm finishing this review. I cannot stand this series, and it's such a shame as well because I love old Doctor Who and everything up until Matt Smith. And while I was watching this series, I assumed the writers had a lot more creativity to come up with clever stories, but instead, you've just made this hell of a world that really needs deleting and starting again. Or heck, just pay me, because I could probably write you a series that actually solves all the problems you created and continue on a clean slate. Because you can't ignore this crap. But aside from some blurred vision and a raised temperature for anger, and for some odd reason a weird taste of blood in my mouth, that was my review of Peter Capaldi. I hope you enjoyed it, Rebekah. Just make sure I haven't burnt the studios down before they get a chance at a new regeneration for me to review. But until then, I have been Nick Starwind, and this has been Nick's Random Reviews. Thank you, of course, for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, and tell all your friends about how I'm very annoyed at your stuff. Again, thank you for watching, and if you're interested in video games, I'm starting to upload some old videos that I did, some Let's Plays. I had a channel called Armored Pups. I've deleted it recently, decided to put it onto here, because I thought I want to get a good variety of things going. So my first one's going up where I look at some made games that came out on the Xbox 360. Very bizarre stuff, but quite a good laugh. There should be a link over here somewhere. I'm a tiny box, you know. Tiny Rick! And yeah, there's a thing. Enjoy.